What's up, everyone? Solidus Link's back once again for part 12 of the ongoing Dead Rising Infinity Mode series. Now, we have waited until 5 days and 19 hours. That means a new batch of survivors and psychopaths have popped up for us to kill. So we got some new trophies to claim to our title, Brett.
Some new trophies.
Yes, both in terms of hunting and in terms of PlayStation 4.
Nice. Very nice.
So we've come prepared for this particular day of psycho hunting, not to be confused with the psycho hunting that I titled a few videos back. The type of hunting we're going to do is a bit of a mixture of both survivors and psychopaths. As I mentioned a few seconds ago, we're going to be going after 2 survivors and 2 psychopaths. And as I said, we've come prepared. For once, we've actually brought what we like to call provisions for our ongoing video series. Now, Brett, what exactly are provisions?
Provisions are anything that we can munch on while we're playing.
Yeah, basically things that any survivor would use, except these
high energy, dense food.
High energy, yes, the highest of energy. Now, bear in mind, these snacks that we munch on aren't exactly the same as, say, this bottle of wine that Frank needs in order to survive in the game, or this lovely golden brown pizza that Frank also needs to survive. Truth be told, these things that we have to eat aren't necessarily in our day-to-day diets, or at least they shouldn't be, but we include them anyway, because that's how we are.
Exactly. Living.
Yeah, we got some pretzel sticks, we got some Sour Patch Kids. So, I'm wandering around aimlessly while I'm talking, so we may as well get into the first psychopath. Actually, no, let's go to the security room, because there's something new we got to talk about. You may have noticed that my inventory is a little bit different. I have one small chainsaw, because in the background, while I was waiting for 5 days and 19 hours to pop up, I dropped a chainsaw and picked up a different weapon, but I forgot that chainsaw in the security room, and it ended up disappearing forever. But that's okay, because we still have one small chainsaw, and it's always handy to have one of them. And, as it turns out, Adam, the psycho clown who gives us these small chainsaws, will respawn at some point during the 6th day. So yeah, folks, if you're wondering what just happened there, I had to cut in the middle of the footage because since I do not live by myself here in this house, I had to stay silent there for a little bit so that Mom didn't think I was talking to myself. She had to step in the room and get something real quick. So, yeah, there's that. But anyways, as I was saying earlier, we are going to take a look upon the security room for a new weapon that has popped up. I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but when you get 5-day survivor, a weapon known as the laser sword pops up here at this corner of the room. And I actually picked it up earlier so you can see it in all of its glory. So it's kind of like a lightsaber as you'd see in Star Wars. It is the strongest weapon in the game, bar none. It kills, well, most things kill zombies in one hit anyway. But I'm pretty sure this will kill a psychopath in one hit as well.
What?
Yep. It's one of the... Oh, that's Barbara right there. So that's the first person we're going to try and kill. See, look, look at that damage. All of that damage. It's like what, have you ever heard of the YouTuber Shofu?
Yeah.
He's a big Super Smash Brothers player.
And Pokemon back in the day.
Yeah.
That's how I know him.
He always says, "They call me Damage." And I always used to take to that saying whenever I inflicted mass amounts of pain upon my enemies in video games. They call me Damage. So yeah, that's one person killed very quickly and made very trivial because of this imaginary weapon in an otherwise realistic video game setting, semi-realistic video game setting. Did you know that there's supposed to be some sort of illness, I guess? Not really virus per se, but some sort of illness that afflicts people in some parts of Africa that actually makes them demonstrate zombie-like traits?
Yeah.
I think
that's all I know because I've read exactly that.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be symptoms like sleepwalking and like excessive amounts of drooling, that sort of thing. Like you basically look like a zombie, but you don't like have any flesh cravings.
I was gonna say, does your flesh also start to die?
No, I don't think so. I think that might be.
That would really show it off, you know.
I think that might be due to other factors,
Drive the point home.
not just that disease in particular. So we did that just now. We're gonna go to Wonderland Plaza now to find the next survivor that we're going to take on, and she has more food that we can snag to our benefit. Where'd that notepad go, Brett? Did you
Right
take it
here.
somewhere? Oh, right there. So another thing that we did in order to prepare ourselves for today is we actually had a list of pre-written topics planned out for us to talk about at any point whenever we struggle with things to talk about. Hence the term notepad.
Lol.
So, what's one thing that we could talk about, Brett? I mean,
Well, you brought up this last rites of Rancid Pride. Is that what it is?
ransom pride.
Okay.
Although-
Ransom Pride?
Ransom pride. Although
Oh.
rancid is actually an accurate word to describe that movie because it's just awful. Like it's just awful in the worst way possible. Hi, Janet. How you doing today?
Whoa.
One hit kill. Jesus, didn't
Get
expect
wrecked,
a
Janet.
didn't expect a stuffed bear to come out of that.
Just get some bulk.
I got some milk. Yeah, I did. Anyways, Lance, goodness, English. I always seem to have a problem with English whenever I'm talking quickly. The Last Rites of Ransom Pride is a terrible movie. Awful. It's basically it's a Canadian Western. I believe it's filmed and made in Alberta. And apparently the budget for it was 8 million Canadian dollars. You wouldn't really know based on looking at it because it looks like it was made for like 100,000, and that's being generous. It's basically about this woman who's a prostitute in Mexico, and she has a lover in Mexico. His name's Ransom Pride, and he is shot in a shootout and dies, and his dying wish to his lover is for her to take him back to his homeland in America so that he can be given a proper burial, hence the term The Last Rites of Ransom Pride. So it's a good plot for a movie. Like, it's a decent idea for a movie.
Sorry.
And that's literally the only good thing.
That's where it ends, huh?
That's where it ends. It is one decent idea. Here's the third person we're going to take on in this video. Machine Gun Carlito is back from the dead. Not counting the sniper rifle Carlito, because, you know, that was a totally different Carlito. Will this one shot? Yes, it will. I should mention, if I haven't said it before, the laser sword will spawn indefinitely in infinity mode. Even if you drop it and like left it here by accident, I think you can always go back and pick it up again at the security room. So if you so if you do, like, you can only hold on to one at a time, obviously.
Right.
So just because of balancing issues and all that. But once you do, once it does break and it's gone, then you can just go back and get it like nothing ever happened. Apparently that's how it works. But yeah, Ransom Pride was shit. I gotta be honest, it was quite bad. Like
Just not good.
the main thing that really annoyed me about that movie was just like it tried way too hard to be artsy fartsy. Like, it had all of these weird edits that would like randomly cut to something random that had nothing to do with the scene that was playing for like a split second, and it would do that like 2 more times within the same minute. Like, it would just have random cutaways to all these
weird.
random scenes, like people screaming. It would just be like, bah! And then all of a sudden it's back to the scene. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, this is stupid. And that, apparently, when I did some digging, it was made for 8 million Canadian dollars. I said, I cannot believe that. I refuse to believe that someone spent that much money on this piece of shit. Especially when you consider the fact that better movies have been made for less, even in the same genre. Have you ever heard of a movie called Bone Tomahawk?
Nope.
Bone Tomahawk was made for $1 million US, and it looks so much better. So much better. They made that movie much better for less money than what was made for Ransom Pride. Bone Tomahawk, I should say, is also one of the most violent movies I've ever seen. There's like one scene that's just freaking disgusting, but it makes sense in the context of the movie. So I highly recommend you see Bone Tomahawk. It's very, very good, especially if you're a fan of horror movies and a fan of Western movies. Specifically those two, because if you like horror movies but you're not into Westerns that much, you're probably just going to think it's okay. But since I'm into both genres, I love Bone Tomahawk. Kurt Russell is fantastic. Richard Jenkins is fantastic. Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, they're all great in their supportive roles. All the acting was just really great, and I couldn't believe it was made for the amount of money that it was advertised. Like, it just really goes to show how much vision matters in a movie, more so than the budget it's made for. So that actually kind of cuts into a particular topic that I wanted to talk about. You know what? For proof of concept, I'm just going to ditch the laser sword and see if it spawned in the security room later. Because I want to pick up that well done steak now. Because I'm tired of waiting.
And steak.
So, as I was saying earlier, this kind of brings to mind something that we have written on our list of things to talk about at any point in time during this playthrough, and that is favorite movies of all time.
Favorite movies of all time.
Of all time. So, how about you, Brett? What are your favorite movies of all time?
Of all time? I don't know, but I'm not a big fan of picking favorites myself.
Well, we've talked about TV shows before.
Yeah.
So surely there must be some movies on that. Oh,
Let's think
it's
of a
nighttime.
movie that I'll watch anytime without a second smoke. Oh, here's one. Recess, School's Out. That's always one I'll watch. Watch that.
That's that animated show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something else we could have talked about in that nostalgia episode that we had earlier.
Yeah, we definitely could have.
All of those TV shows. I can't believe... Well, Recess actually did come up behind the scenes, but I don't think it would have been as effective to us if we talked about it, like, again during that same day. Because, like, whenever you talk about something that you haven't experienced in a while, like, for the first time, that hit of nostalgia, it's always best the first time you relive it. And then whenever you talk about it again later on, it's just like, yeah, it's fine and all, but whenever you first bring it up, it's like whenever you first mention the words Nanette Manoir from Angela Anaconda, and I was just like, oh my god. And all of those memories came back. Yeah. So, I guess to get the gears going a little bit, just to get some ideas flowing for movies, some of my favorite movies of all time include Pulp Fiction.
I was going to say, that's one of the ones I've always kind of thought of whenever I think of a favorite.
Yeah, that's a movie I've watched 3 or 4 times. So not as often as some movies I've seen, but Pulp Fiction is fantastic, in my opinion. It's just, everything about it is great because it's so unconventional. Like, it literally breaks every rule of basic screenplay structure, and yet it somehow works.
Yeah.
That's why anytime I read a book or an article talking about screenplays and how you're supposed to do them, I just say, nah. Because Tarantino never did it that way. And he's, self-made man, basically. He was a big independent guy.
I know what the people want.
Yeah. He knows.
He's like, I am the people. I know what I want.
He's our guy. So, Pulp Fiction, Last Picture Show is another one. That's probably my new favorite movie of all time, other than Pulp Fiction. I think I picked those... I interchange between those two for different reasons. Pulp Fiction more for entertainment, and Last Picture Show more on an artistic scale. I think what they did with that movie is, like... It hits me harder more on an emotional level than any other movie I've seen. And which is it's quite awe-inspiring considering the fact it was made in 1971, and I never thought a movie that far back in time would mesmerize me the way it did, but it sure did. That was one of the first movies that Jeff Bridges starred in. So,
Mr. Bridges.
So here's our last person that we're going to fight in this video. It's Cletus. And he is a pain to fight because
shotgun.
the idea is you're supposed to hide behind these display stands and then wait till he reloads, attack him, then you have to hide again. But you never get enough time in order to hide behind these stands again.
He takes a swig.
And then oftentimes, you'll be hiding behind these stands and then he just ends up hitting you through them anyway. Because physics. So you often have to run back, hope he doesn't hit you, and then you just have to wait. Sometimes too you'll try to hit him and your attacks don't do any damage for whatever reason. See, like that. Like, there's random shit like that. It pisses me off. Thankfully I have enough food. There. He is down. Thankfully, he spawned a bunch of really useful food and a battle axe, because apparently rednecks enjoy using them. So we're going to have some fun with that. Brett, have any movies come to your mind now? Talked about Pulp Fiction, Last Picture Show. Star Wars is another big one for me. Terminator's another big one for me. I could go on and on about movies. I'm a huge movie buff.
Monty Python, The Search for the Holy Grail, and Anchorman are two that are definitely on my list.
Oh, yeah. I still remember the first time we tried to watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail together. I didn't end up watching the whole thing just because it was late at night and I was tired.
It was super late. We want to start at like 2 a.m., I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, something foolish like that. But I remember just laughing my ass off just at the opening credits alone and how silly some of the words were that they came up with during that open sequence. I never forgot that particular moment. Alright, so that's enough for now. We're going to take her easy for a little bit because we've taken out all the survivors that we can during this particular period of time. But when we come back, there is going to be a smorgasbord of psychopaths and survivors to take on. So it'll become much more entertaining in the next video. So until then, thanks for watching this video here. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, stay tuned for the next part.